welcome to the latest edition of the Red Rose Review in what has been a fantastic month for Lancashire cricket with the Royal London Cup successes and qualification for the final. This, in fact, is going to be a Royal London Cup special Red Rose Review, and I'm delighted to have alongside me on the sofa Graham Onions, of course, who's assistant coach here at Lancashire. And Graham, it's been a really satisfying and spectacular month for the Red Rose players.
Yeah, absolutely. In many ways, really, I think the strength of our squad and I suppose the hype and the enjoyment around the 50-over competition, but then also delivering and getting ourselves to another finals is exciting. We've obviously got to try and get that little step further to try and win.
Well, of course. I mean, for those that don't know, and I'm sure you all do, there's an 8-game group series and then 2 qualification matches, basically, because we finished second in the group, firstly at Blackpool and then the semi-final at Sussex, all coming very quickly, one after the other. Let's just talk a little bit about that Sussex game, and then we'll look back at one or two of the other moments a little bit later. But that Sussex match, the semi-final, didn't go so well to start with. 67 for 5, Lancashire were at one stage.
No, and it was crying out for a partnership, and no better person really than our own Dane Villas, and of course someone like George Lavelle as well, that came in and put a fantastic partnership together to give us an opportunity to what we thought was roughly par or maybe just above. And then, of course, they put on a fantastic partnership as well with the bat. It was a pretty good pitch, but the strength and depth in our bowl and in the team that we selected was very much, Keats is our new captain for this competition. He had options up his sleeve and he put them under pressure for long enough.
And what about Danny Lamb as well? Because George Lavelle and Danny backed up Dane Villas beautifully.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that probably the last 10 overs. One of the things that we discussed and Sussex did incredibly well. And what the competition as a whole, I think, is give opportunities to some young players to almost see if they can deal with the pressure, but also see if they can perform. It was an area that we discussed of that if we can have wickets in hand towards the back end with their young bowling attack, we can maybe capitalise on that. And actually we did that. We put them under a huge amount of pressure. They were moving fielders everywhere, and how Danny Lamb can, of course, hit sixes, but he can also scoop and he can paddle and he can pretty much manipulate the field to wherever he wants to go. He put them under a lot of pressure. Word
about Dane, because he'd been missing for probably 3/4 of the campaign with this fractured finger. And he's come straight back into the side. Looks in fantastic nick. Yeah,
incredibly hard to bowl at. I've played against them a few times, and I've flicked against them pretty much every day. And the white ball, when it doesn't do a great deal, the way he kind of moves across the crease and manipulates the field and hits gaps, and he's of course with the field in the middle overs, having you got to have 5 in the circle. It's very hard for spinners, especially to, I suppose, tie him down and put him under pressure. And I think that knock was almost a perfect counter-attacking senior player's knock, really, exactly when we needed him.
You say 319 you thought was about par, so the pitch was pretty good. Then it was all about defending it, of course.
Yeah, and it was. I think the discussions that we spoke about was that after our innings, the slow balls were just gripping a little bit and just holding in. If we can take a couple of wickets early, then that's our plan, of course, by just holding length, trying to get them hit the ball straight. Of course, they came out all guns blazing. They had an unbelievable 20-odd overs where they put us under a lot of pressure. But we, as we've discussed throughout the whole competition, is taking wickets in their middle overs is really important. And of course, the kind of seniority of our attack is they've found ways to do that throughout the competition. And actually, one of the pleasing things is they had Pujara in the middle, who we almost sucked the life out of him in a little way, and we fielded brilliantly, once again, that we've done throughout the whole competition. Put him under pressure, and he just had nowhere to go.
No. 2 periods in that semi-final, though, that were going against Lancashire. One we've already mentioned, 67 for 5, and you've just alluded to the second one where Sussex got off to a flyer.
Yeah.
I think they were only 3 wickets down for about 170.
Yeah.
So what was it specifically that brought the team back into contention in both those aspects?
Yeah, I mean, they'll be kicking themselves because from a batting point of view, they lost all momentum. They soaked up a lot of balls and just they lost a lot of their intent. But I think what we spoke about is, especially in the middle overs, is that you've got to squeeze as much as you possibly can. You know, try and cut down the angles. I've challenged the bowlers a lot this year to try and get them to hit towards mid-off and extra cover. You can have your two very good fielders there and try to squeeze them as much as we can. You know, bowling your best balls being a theme throughout the competition, but what is it on that pitch? But also, what we did really well in that game is that the ball reversed a little bit as well. So we got the ball moving sideways, and Balderson came on at that time and down the hill and bowled at decent pace for him, and managed to get a couple of wickets, and just. You could just see them under a lot of pressure. Once again, they're a young team. We've got a lot more experience than them. Another area that we said that if we can put them under pressure, then they'll potentially crumble.
What about Dane Villas coming back into the side and not being captain? Keaton was captain for the whole campaign. That's worked very well, obviously.
Yeah, and Dane wanted, to be fair to Dane, he wanted that to be the case. You know, personnel and being a captain is obviously the key person in the team, really. And Keats, is strong-minded and he knew exactly where he wanted to take this team. And I think the relationship between him and of course Crick has been fantastic, really. And I think Dane was more than happy to come back into the team if we kind of wanted him, because I think when he came back in, he was potentially 75-80% fit, but as we showed in that game there, is that he's a match winner and we want him in the team as much as we can.
Prior to the semi-final, of course, there were one or two interesting moments right the way through those group games, and probably the two that stood out for me were those games at Blackpool. Always good to get out away from Emirates Old Trafford and be able to play at club grounds throughout the Northwest. And Blackpool has produced fantastic pitches this summer for the county games. Yeah,
I mean the pitches that we played on there were unbelievably flat pitches.
And Northants game and the Notts quarter final.
Unbelievably flat pitches, and that's exactly what you want, really. And what we discussed about then is that you have to have wickets. You have to have a man in the last 10 overs, ideally 2, and actually you can chase down anything. I mean, Northants put a massive partnership on, and actually we thought that the pitch wasn't quite as good against Notts, so we thought that they were probably a little bit over par. But equally, Stephen Croft, the king of Blackpool, kind of showed up again, and once again, we spoke about having a batter set, and actually we cruised it with almost 2 overs to go, and that wasn't always the case. I mean, obviously my role as a coach is try to keep some of the players calm, but once again, you've got to trust these lads with a fairly experienced set of players, that they've got everything under control. Our job as coaches is just to trust in them and give them the belief that they can go out and chase anything. And as I said, Crofty's performance there was unbelievable.
I think Lancashire benefit from an experienced core of players. You mentioned Croft, but you've also got the likes of Keaton Jennings and Luke Wells, who are perhaps the 3 most experienced. And then you've got another level of like Rob Jones and Danny Lamb, and some real youngsters like Lavelle and Morley, and Hurty, who's not exactly a youngster but less experienced, and that blend has worked well. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, you look at you mentioned those names and what they've done in their career so far, and they want to win. They've got that desire, but what has impressed us as coaches and me personally is that everyone stood up to do that role at a certain period of time, and we've played on pitches where it's okay to be 4 down, because some of the pitches, like for example at Neath, in Glamorgan, is that pitch was a real tough pitch to play on at the Rose Bowl once again, and we need the strength and the depth, and that's where Balderson at Kent, he got 100.
Even though we didn't win it, it was a standout moment for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think really the competition has got to be, You want to win it, of course you do, but you also want to give these lads opportunities to perform under pressure. We're lucky enough that we've got a lot of senior players that have got that determination, desire to win.
Do you think this competition serves as a really good breeding ground, though, and an experience gatherer for those players that are not the 4 most experienced cricketers we've got at Lancashire?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even though we've got a strong squad, we've we've had chats all the time about, what would you do in certain situations. People like Bell, who's obviously been with England in the 19s, but he's dropped in and out of it. Jack Morley, who's not played every single game. What would you do in these situations? And watch the game and trying to learn all the time. The 50 over for me, it has to stay, it has to hang around, because you've got opportunities to win trophies. You still play under good crowds that we've had, and going back to Sussex, although it was fantastic for us to win, Sussex lads and all the younger lads will learn so much from the occasion, the ability to play against good players. It's a huge stepping stone for us to hang around and to keep on playing.
Well, I think that epitomises it quite clearly in the fact that Rob Jones has been so successful and Danny Lamb, two who are in that middle bracket of experience.
Yeah, I mean, Jonesy, obviously very unlucky.
Twisted his ankle.
To go down at Blackpool and missed out on that game. But he's averages-wise and the way he's fielded, he's been probably, arguably our best player. I think the way he's gone out there and he's showed intent. But you also got to remember is that, we played a game here last year against Middlesex where we lost a lot of intent, like what Sussex did, and we discussed it and we had a chat about we didn't qualify last year. So what we took a little bit from that and what Jonesy did, it'll be interesting to see if he would admit it. But he took a lot of that learning process from last year into this year's competition, and he came out there and he backed himself and he played and he performed, and very much in those middle overs with 5 in the ring once again is being able to take that risk in a real positive way to give him the best opportunity to score runs, and that's worked throughout the whole competition with both bat and ball.
Danny Lamb too, a couple of really good and significant scores, including that one we've just talked about, but also with his bowling. He's one of these bowlers that perhaps won't take the new ball, but he'll bowl the middle overs, and he'll come on at the end when it's really tricky.
Keats is crying out, and as a captain, what it is that you're crying out for players that will do the hard yards and the tough job. And yeah, he might not open with a new ball, but if in the first 10 overs, if it travels, that he'll come on, but then he'll bowl in the middle to try and tie somebody down or try and find a wicket option. But then the last 10 overs, if you've got a batter set, he's very, very knowledgeable about what his field, like what he wants. He'll go to Keith, he said, this is the field I want, this is what I'm going to do. And you can accept as a captain that he's not going to get it right all the time. And of course, he's not a machine, but he practices hard all the time. And what he tries to deliver, he'll have a plan for it. And I think, as you said, someone like Danny Lamb is almost invaluable towards what we're trying to do for this competition. Has
Luke Wells's progression as an all-rounder surprised you a little bit?
He's almost pushed Jack Morley out, which is a shame for his progression. But of course, we want to win. We want to win trophies. It's trying to find that balance between, of course, giving opportunities, but also Wellesley's done really well. So we're going to back him as almost our spinning option. Once again, he's more experienced. He's said to Keats, this is what I want to do, or this is what my plan is. And more often than not, he's actually delivered a lot of the time. So I think he's been a massive positive, really, in the bowling front.
And we've mentioned Stephen Croft briefly, or you have, but it would be remiss of us not to just think about him. Over 1,500 runs in all competitions for Lancashire this year, and again a fundamental part in Lancashire's success in this Royal London Cup. Yeah,
another person that's when we needed him, he stepped up to the plate, and in the field, I mean, for a slightly older man, he moves unbelievable backward point, stops everything. Something that we've prided ourselves on, and that he does all the time as well. His volume of runs and in the way he talks about the game and what he provides to the team is valuable, second to none. And it's just a case of making sure, as I said, we've got so far now. We need to get, to Trent Bridge and win it. We'd love that.
I think not only would the team love it, but the members and supporters would love it too. Thanks for the moment, Graham. It's been good to chat to you. More coming in a minute. And it's time now just to look at the nominations for the Hilton Player of the Month. So those are the nominations for the Hilton Player of the Month, and I'm delighted to say that the winner of this month's Hilton Player of the Month is Rob Jones, who's miraculously appeared on the sofa next to Graham Onions. Rob, congratulations, well done. Player of the Month, and you've got an injury with it as well. How's that coming on?
Yeah, it's doing all right. Well, obviously I did everything I could in the first 6 days. Pretty frustrating and gutted that I rolled my ankle at Blackpool. But like I said, I spent a lot of time on the sofa, just icing my foot and trying to get it as right as I can. So hopefully, if everything goes well, I'll try and get fit for the final in a week on Saturday.
Good news that you're going to be fit so quickly after rolling your ankle at Blackpool. But Player of the Month, Hilton Player of the Month, is a pretty nice accolade for you in a short month. But you played 3 very good innings in that competition.
Yeah, I felt the responsibility and the role I had was in the middle order, and I thought I played really nicely in a few tough games and obviously a couple of tough wickets. But yeah, so it's a really nice achievement and nice to be recognised, which is lovely. So.
Well, we haven't got you a medal or anything, but not at the moment anyway. But just talk us through the team spirit and the way the lads approach this cup competition, because it's well respected by the membership and the supporters. They really enjoy it. It comes under the shadow of the 100, but I don't believe that the players think it's in the shadow.
No, absolutely not. We obviously at the start of the comp with Bunny and Crick leading us, we sat down, and it's a massive comp for the club and it's a massive comp for the counties around the country, and we believe that we will hopefully try and win that comp, and obviously we're in the final, which is great, and it's a competition that we take really seriously. I think a lot of counties take it seriously. It's a great opportunity for players such as himself and some of the young lads to really show what they can do. You know, Spizzer's knock at Blackpool, we all know he's a great player, but in a pressure situation against Northants, was it? Was it Northants?
Yeah, Northants.
Northants, yeah, where he played that knock and got 60 off 40 balls. You know, it just shows what players can do in that comp, which is great. And like you say, it just gives opportunity to real impact games of cricket for Lancashire and hopefully win a comp for Lancs, which is what we're here for and what we're trying to do. It's
a good point about taking confidence forward, because it might not be the county championship or it might not be the T20 Blast, but it's a competition in its own right and fixtures in their own right, and still those competitive elements in the game go to improve and help your confidence. Do you take those through into the other competitions?
Yeah, like anything, runs and time in the crease, and whether you're bowling or batting, time in the middle is vital, and it gives you that confidence to then think, well, I've done it at that stage, you've done it consistently in this competition, then, you know, it just takes you forward into other competitions, like we said. So, yeah, it's really helped a lot of the young lads, and we've thoroughly enjoyed it. The team spirit and the lads, we all obviously get along so well, and we've all had a massive belief in that competition, which has been great. And I think the one thing that's really stood out is someone in every game has really stood up. Whether it's with bat or ball, we've been in some tough situations.
Different people as well.
Different people, yeah. So we've been in tough situations, but someone at the end of the day has really stood up. Like Dane, obviously he's only played 2 or 3 games, but in the semi-final at Hove, he had a broken finger. But we all know what he can do, but he didn't have an impact in the group stages because he was injured, but comes into the semi-final and produces a knock like that, and it's just brilliant. Like, everyone has really stood up and shown their mettle and helped win games of cricket.
Well, we've done an awful lot of hard work to get to the final. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's coming up on the 17th of September at Trent Bridge. Kent are the opposition, Graham, and we've already played them and lost to them at Canterbury, but it was the finest possible and smallest possible margin of victory for Kent.
Yeah, and it was almost seen as the Darren Stevens swan song, really. And you know, we've got to be aware of it, embrace it going into the final. We've got to make sure that we learn a little bit from that loss. But equally, I don't think we'll talk about it too much. I think we throughout the competition, I think we've discussed about what we do well and talk a little bit about them. Make sure as a bowling unit we're clear on our plans. the batters will go out, and we as coaches back these players to go out there and perform. The last thing you want to do is talk about them too much. I think our challenge as coaches is to, at times we've had 80% performances, sometimes we've been a little bit more, is like, can we tie everything together on the big stage to try and produce that performance that's is gonna be outstanding to watch as a supporter, but also to play and almost put a real stamp on the competition, because I believe that we've got a fantastic team, a fantastic morale amongst the lads, that we can win this game. So yeah, we just need it. But once again, we want to take pressure off players and just go out there and express yourself.
So obviously, Jonesy, we're pretty confident of winning, aren't we?
Absolutely.
Going to go there and give it our best.
100%. We'll give everything we've got, and like you say, we'll just absolutely go out there, be confident, do what we've done in the whole comp, and back each other and back each other's skills, and hopefully we come out on top.
Great stuff. So that final then is on September the 17th at Trent Bridge. Hope you've enjoyed the Red Rose review. There'll be another coming along towards the end of the season. We'll see you then.